Welcome back, everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. This will be my full Creature Commandos Episode 5 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. Really big Frankenstein flashback episode to remind you how messed up he is. Like, for a hot second, you think they're going to give him some sort of redemption arc, but nope, not going to do that at all. But the other big notable thing here is it's a big Clayface episode because they're canonizing him to the DCU. Like, this is going to be the canon version of Clayface in the connected Justice League universe that James Gunn is creating with the Superman movie. That was what was going on with that big Justice League flash forward in last week's episode. That was why it was such a big deal, because it was the first appearance of a lot of really big Justice League level A-list characters. But the other reason why Clayface is such a big deal right now as this episode is happening is because just a couple days ago, James Gunn confirmed that he greenlit a new Clayface movie that Matt Reeves is going to be producing. But the way they talked about it, it sounded like it might be canon to the DCU, but I think they'll clarify that in the next couple years because it'll take a while to actually make it. But in the episode, Alan Tudyk is doing the voice of Clayface. We only get a couple lines of dialogue from him, but he also does Clayface, you remember, during the Harley Quinn series, but that is meant to be a completely different version of the character, way more over the top and comedic, like the tone of the Harley Quinn series. This is actually a clip of James Gunn's cameo scene on that series with him.
James Gunn, sit on me.
Well, Mr. Face, what would you say to a job on set as the director's chair?
The way that Alan Tudyk explained this DCU version of Clayface during Creature Commandos is that he's a complete psychopath, like way more hardcore than that funnier version of Harley Quinn Clayface. And because James Gunn said that Alan Tudyk is going to show up during the Superman movie, they might just cast a brand new actor when they do the live-action Clayface. The episode title this week was The Iron Pot, which is a reference to the way Frankenstein killed that gypsy woman who saved his life using her iron pot, thinking that he was doing her a mercy so that she wouldn't have to live alone without him, showing how truly messed up he is. There will be no redemption arc for Frankenstein inside the DCU. The opening scene starts with Dr. McPherson starting one of her university classes, foreshadowing the big reveal that it's actually been Clayface impersonating her for who knows how long. Doesn't seem like it's been more than a couple days or like a week, just because the body hasn't decomposed that much. But you can kind of tell what's going on here because they show her being so casual with the class, like she doesn't really care about it that much. She throws the stack of books on her desk, she acts all horny on one of her students, which is a big no-no. And instead of actually teaching the class anything, because Clayface doesn't have the power to absorb people's memories or knowledge when he impersonates them, this is actually a long-running bit in a lot of TV shows and movies where characters will do things like this, where he tries to get the class to answer all the questions and lead itself for him. What do you think is important about Themyscira? All because he is as dumb as rocks. The doctor he's impersonating is supposed to be the leading expert on Themyscira and the Amazons, like all the Wonder Woman lore inside the DCU. The way that James Gunn also explained it, because we saw her in that flash forward with the Holy Trinity, Batman also in the background too, the world right now in the present day of the DCU isn't aware of Wonder Woman's existence yet, only the Amazons just in general. Like, they know Themyscira exists, the Amazons are real people, but Wonder Woman does exist in present day, like she is alive, she just hasn't made her presence known to the public yet. Mostly because, as you would expect, James Gunn not ready to recast a new actress as the new Wonder Woman. He basically said it's the same situation with The Flash. He's like, we're waiting a beat on development of the next Flash movie. I will probably do a separate video about that at some point. There's just so much to talk about with the future of the DCU movies. We just got the big info dump the past week just because of the Superman trailer. So everybody's releasing all this information about all the other big characters from the Justice League. Antigone that she mentions is the daughter of Oedipus, who most people remember, even if you're not a scholar of Greek history, because it's where the term Oedipus complex comes from. Apollonia with an O isn't a Greek figure from real-life history, but in the DCU, apparently she was a Greek poet. Then they have that funny moment of Clayface, because he is Clayface, making a big deal about all the Amazons being lesbians, just shocking the rest of the class. The way they've treated the characters in the comics, in the recent DCEU Zack Snyder movies, like the Justice League movie, is that it's more like they're bi. Because they still get it on with men needing to propagate. The way that Zack Snyder explained it when he was doing his movies, like he was helping on the Wonder Woman movie when they were making that, is that the Amazons will just briefly steal dudes from passing ships and then let them go after they're done with them. It's not totally a death by snoo-snoo situation, but in some cases it's probably a little bit like that. Not a bad way to go. They also reference this whole phenomenon at the beginning of the series with the Sons of Themyscira, that whole group who is based on the comics, who are just the sons that the Amazons don't want because they only want daughters on the island. So basically when one of them gives birth to a boy, they just abandon the baby. They mostly use this joke, though, for the reaction with Frankenstein. Like, as toxic as he is, like, as messed up as Frankenstein is, somehow this has crossed the line for him. Like, this has gone too far. Like, wow, that seems really inappropriate, even though I did all this terrible stuff. Then they set up the idea of infiltrating the Doctor's house in the battle later in the episode. This time during the intro, they changed the James Gunn scene of him writing the episode scripts, and he's writing the scene between the princess and the knights at the very end of this episode, where she tells them to kill the creature commandos, and sets up the twist that they're also being misled by the US government. Which is actually a common theme in all Suicide Squad stories. They kind of did the same twist during James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. It makes sense because James Gunn wrote these episodes. Where Amanda Waller lied to the Suicide Squad about the truth of what was going on, Starro was not the actual villain, it was the US government and her doing all these terrible things down there. So it stands to reason that there might be some similar twist going on now. Like the flash forward scene of the princess was kind of misleading maybe in the way that it portrayed her as a villain. That was meant to be a possible future, but it didn't tell the whole context of why she was doing all those things in those different scenes. One of the other connections here too, behind the scenes, because it was just the Christmas holiday, James Gunn just released a custom Christmas version of his intro from Creature Commandos here that the animation team that works on the episodes sent him as a gift. Like he didn't ask them to make this, like they just gave it to him as a present and then he reposted it online. So it's not something that you'll see inside an actual episode. But you zoom in and enhance on the text here, and because they changed the scripts that he's writing in the intros for each episode, this looks like it's from the Weasel episode with the little kids meeting him for the first time, mistakenly thinking that he's a groundhog. Then they flash back to right after Frankenstein's monster killed Dr. Frankenstein and the bride found them in the aftermath and tried to kill him. She loses the tourmaline necklace, and then they break up the rest of their fight through the rest of the episode. Love some of the transitions, like him just walking down the sidewalk casually with all the kids freaking out while he's drinking from the Slurpee. Rick Flagg spends most of the episode trying to warn the princess, finally getting a call through to her by the end of the episode, but gets cut off before she can fully explain what's really going on. Also probably for plot reasons, so they can save that for next week's episode to reveal what's actually going on. You remember there's only 7 episodes this season, which seems like a weird, odd number, but they'll probably reveal everything in episode 6 by the end. Then they'll use the finale to resolve everything and sort of push into season 2. And if it wasn't clear, you didn't see it in the news online, James Gunn did announce they have renewed the show for season 2. But also part of the joke here too is that technically he's in charge, so it's like he's renewing his own show. He actually has the power to do that now. But they didn't say when they're going to release that. It's probably going to be at least 2, maybe even 3 years before we see it. Elsewhere, the Creature Commandos arrive to kill the princess on their mission. The captain of the guard jokes that they were problem-free for 100 years until they opened comms with America. All of a sudden, it is Nightmare City nonstop. The reason for that, though, they teased in earlier episodes. The American government wants the oil that the country has access to but hasn't fully tapped yet, so it's like a treasure trove of resources that the government in the US wants from them. Which is actually a bit of a play on real-life wars. Like there have been a number of wars, particularly in the Middle East, especially recently, all over oil. Like it always comes back to oil. So I think this is all in service of just setting up the idea that the US government is going to wind up being the actual villain of the series. Back at the professor's house, Frankenstein calling the cat on the leash a bad omen is right on the money because of the Clayface reveal, but also to set up his flashbacks with the gypsy who nursed him back to health. They show what happened right after that first big battle with the bride. He's almost destroyed, but you remember both of them, like he and the bride, are super hard to perma-kill because of the way Dr. Frankenstein brought them back to life, but you can destroy them if you try hard enough. The gypsy woman is blind, so she's not as freaked out by him as a normal person would be, and she reveals that she was just super lonely and happy for the companionship. She gives him some wisdom, some life lessons. They make it sound like it kind of rubs off on him a little bit, like you think he has a chance of having a redemption arc in the past, but that just sets up the big twist at the end of the episode when you find out that is definitely not the case. Upstairs in her house, the real professor had Amazonian artifacts all around the house, like there's one of their helmets on the statue here that he puts. The reason why the cat is pawing at the leash is because Clayface hasn't been walking her or letting her outside since he started impersonating the professor, but we do find he's not a total monster. Like Clayface is a bad person, he's a psychopath, but not a total monster because he does feed the cat. Rick Flagg then finds the real dead professor in her office. Like I said, it seems like she's only been dead for a couple days, not that long. In setting up another big twist, he thinks that Cersei is behind the Clayface twist, but that's also probably not true. Something else is probably going on, and they might be setting up the US government that has something to do with this. You remember the US government during the Suicide Squad movie also hired the Thinker to do research on Star, do all that shady stuff on all those people down there, and it might just be the US government trying to find a creative way of getting rid of the princess so that they can mine all the oil themselves. We get more flashbacks where the gypsy has started to think of Frankenstein-like family, just making the payoff at the end of the episode hit even harder. Then in present day, the princess calls in the hit on the creature commandos, so the knights open fire. Dr. Phosphorus was awesome during this fight scene. There are a couple notable moments too, like there's an Easter egg for James Gunn's old dog who passed away. I think this poster here for some random product is an actual real picture off of his phone that he just put in the episode. He actually said in real life that his dog is still like his phone's lock screen, but the dog passed away a while ago and he hasn't had the heart to take him off of his phone. Interesting detail here, Dr. Phosphorus, you'll see, takes his clothes off before he uses his full powers, I think to avoid the Hulk problem, to make a Marvel reference. Like some characters, every time they use their full powers, destroy their clothes. So he's just taking his clothes off here so he can put them back on after he kills all these people. Way more efficient long term. There's also the idea that he probably doesn't even need clothes if you think about it. There's a couple real big Easter eggs during this Clayface fight. Both of them were great fight scenes in the episode. They treat this scene like it's an Xbox integration, like Xbox paid them money to advertise this in the episode, like please use our logo really prominently in this game in the background. Clayface playing Mortal Kombat 1, which has Peacemaker as a playable character in it, like we're going to see Peacemaker Season 2 next year. Rick Flagg is going to be a character during that. Homelander from The Boys and Omni-Man from Invincible are also canon to that game too, but I don't think that necessarily canonizes them to the DCEU. That would be kind of funny though. But this does mean though that at least Xbox and just the basic Mortal Kombat game are canon to the DCEU. But the other thing too that you'll probably remember is that Warner Brothers Games is the publisher of the Mortal Kombat 1 game, which is probably the other reason why they included this bit for some corporate crossover synergy, which a lot of big corporations do all the time. During their actual fight, Clayface breaking Rick Flagg's back over his knee is a very famous Bane reference from the Batman Nightfall comics. I remember owning that. It was a huge deal back in the day. Frankenstein finally beats Clayface by electrocuting him, ripping out the socket. And even though it does seem like Clayface is dead here, he's probably not permadead, like just down for the count for a good long while. It would be weird for them to introduce the Clayface character, huge Batman villain from the comics, to the DCU to just kill him off right away in an animated show. Speaking of which, Rick Flagg looks almost dead, but it's meant to be a parallel to Frankenstein at the beginning of the flashbacks when the gypsy woman found him almost dead. But also in this case, Rick Flagg is not dead because we know he's coming back next year in the Superman movie and during Peacemaker Season 2 right after that. But it is going to take him a while to walk off that injury. Then in the flashbacks, we see one of the coldest things that Frankenstein has ever done. He kills the gypsy woman with her iron pot, giving the episode its name, all because he thought he was helping her, doing her a mercy, a kindness, so that she wouldn't have to be lonely anymore after he left. So everyone press F to pay respects. She did not have to die. Her death probably hits the hardest of any of the deaths on the series so far. Then they end the episode with a cliffhanger of the princess talking to the knights about killing the creature commandos and setting up the twist that they are being misled by the US government. So big theories about what that is. Like, what do you think the US government is actually lying about during the episode? And does it have something to do with oil? Like I said, it always comes back to oil in situations like this. Like the US government just wants more oil. If there's any other Easter eggs or references that you spotted in the episode that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. And my full episode 6 video will post next week after they release it. We got a couple more Marvel What If episodes that I'll be doing videos for the next couple days, Skeleton Crew next week, and a bunch of Spider-Man episodes that will start in January. So I'll be doing videos for all that stuff. Make sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that. Everybody click here for my video on the new version of The Flash in James Gunn's DCU. There's some Easter eggs during the Superman trailer. And click here for all my Creature Commandos episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.